Alright, this video is about servicing the LineDriver. This LineDriver has been serviced since last year. A couple things wrong with it that we are going to switch over. This bottom hose blew out last season, end of the season. Blew out a big chunk of it, squirted out all of our fluid. That hose has to get changed. Besides it being extremely dirty, we're going to take apart the carburetor, clean the carburetor, put it back on. You can tell by the oil, it's a little dark. Probably should have changed that before, more than once a year. We'll be flushing that out. Well, there was no more oil left in the hydraulic tank because we blew the hose and all of it squirted all over the parking lot. So that has to get refilled. We're going to clean the bottom. We're going to check the brakes up front. I'm going to fix one of my broken lights that probably backed into something and sheared that one off. And I think that's all we're going to do to it. Give it a good power washing and clean it up. So first thing we'll do is we'll refill the engine oil so we don't forget about it. And then I think we're going to tackle replacing this line here, which also is the same one that connects to this one off the pump. So we'll be taking that apart, swapping out the hose, same hose here on the bottom, take that apart and get a new one installed. Then we'll have to purge the air out of the system and let it run for a little while and let it circulate and get back into shape. So I'll bring it back once we get everything ready. Alright, here we're going to change the engine oil. What I like to do is I put the oil into gear buckets, synthetic gear, rear ends containers, sip the top off. Oil's been drained out overnight. I always squirt a little extra in with the drain plug out and let it flow out. And you see how black and nasty it is. We just want to keep it as clean as we possibly can. So we'll just take a little bit more in there. Get it running nice and smooth. Make sure the seal is still on the drain plug. That drained for a minute. It's draining clear, so we'll thread the drain plug in. Throw that over there. Should have had an extension on it. So for a 6-inch extension, spin in. Don't use impact guns for this. It's only aluminum, gently snugged, and that's as far as you go with it. This is where these things come in real easy, is filling these things up with oil. Squirt it in. Let it sit for a minute. Once you squirt it in, it all goes to the back, so it's got to level itself out. Take the next one. Squirt it nice and slow. What I want to do is I want the oil to dribble out of the top. I bring all the Honda engines up to just that overflow. This way when you take corners, go up hills, they don't stall out on you. You know, the owner manual says keep it at the bottom of the threads, but especially with the stripers, you turn a hard corner, the machine stalls out on you all the time. So if you just keep it a little bit higher, still a little bit more. There you go. This machine has to get power washed, so the oil flowing doesn't really have a bearing on anything. So you let all the excess run out. We're perfectly flat with the top of with the thread, so this one is done. Put the cap on. Oil change is done. All right, so what we have to do is take this hose off. It's a 1-inch fitting into both sides of the motor. Then we got to take the fitting off the pump, and the assembly hopefully will just drop right out. These nuts or threaded fittings are in there extremely tight. At least the past 3 I've done so. We'll see if we have to get a cheater bar. Oh, this one actually came out easy. Wow. That's probably how hot it's gotten over the years. See that? Put the oil bucket underneath it, because whatever's, not that much is left in the hose after blowing it. I'm driving it back to the truck, so we will see how much oil comes out. Get a pair of channel locks and just speed that up. This one's coming out way easier than any of what I've done in the past. Means something else is going to break on me soon. There it is. Since we're here, we're going to try tightening this one to make sure this top one is tight. It's not as loose as that bottom one was. Oh yeah. I got a good turn on that one. All right, that side's off. This is the hose we're replacing. This is what hose goes like that. Comes around. This is the hose we just took off. All right, let's see what happens. Yeah, this one's loose too. Wow. My lucky day today. One of my channel locks. Alright, that's loose. Grab my bucket. Towels back there. It's a little bit. One more turn. There it goes. Mop the hose out. Drain out whatever's left. We did the other side. This hose, oh, very loose. There it goes. All right. Next thing we have to do is we are going to remove this. This is the pump side of that bracket, so not too much to see, but we'll see if we can get this one off. Yeah. Oh, actually, that was tighter than the wheel motors were. So remember how the hose comes up from the bottom, because that's how the new one has to come up too. So we'll drag that one out and push in the new hose. And don't lump it in the oil, because that's going to make a mess. So this goes right up through here. Take the plug out. Screw this hose on, but don't tighten it. Leave yourself some flexibility when you're putting these bottom hoses on. Take the bottom cap off. Thread it in. Start it by hand. And give her, tighten her up. Oh, look at that. New hoses are different sizes. So, we'll have to bump up to an 1 1/16 wrench. Or 1 1/8. That was 1 1/16. Okay, grab it. Let's see, 1 1/16? Yep, that's what it is. 1 1/16 now. Started the threads. Nice and tight. And we'll go do the other side now. And we try to do the same thing on the other side. Forgot to tell you, make sure these little O-rings didn't fall off. We don't need the pliers from the other side. Takes a little while to get them started, especially if the first one's always easier. Because I can feel it. I can feel it fighting me. There it goes. Nice and easy going in. We're not cross-threaded. All right, do a little hold up with it. All right, you're nice and tight. Go around and tighten up the top one. Since the hose is set now. Right size wrench, the 1-inch wrench. Nice and tight. we're good. This driver uses the Mobile 115W50. So we're going to fill that up next. And we will purge the system out, which just means driving it up on stands, letting it idle, flushing all the oil through the hoses, gently cycling the forward and reverse pedals so there's no more air in the lines. All right, next thing we're going to do is replace the vibration dampeners on the drivers. This is a brand new one. Only thing we have to do is we have to make 2 bushings and replace 2 of these so the metal plate does not eat up this vibration dampener. On the drivers especially, you'll get, if you use it a lot, you'll get 6 months, possibly a season out of a set of these. What we're doing is we're cutting one of these. Got to clean it up still. This goes over this goes inside, and then the plate sits on top of this, and the sharp edges of the plate cannot chew up the rubber and ruin it. So we're gonna cut a 1-inch hole first. Without moving it, we're gonna change over to an 1 3/4 hole saw, and that'll give us a bushing like this. Finally, it's through. So turn it off, change out this hole saw, probably throw that one in the dumpster, put my 1 3/4 hole saw in, lock it in, cut the next one. Yep, the whole saw is done. So now we have 2 round discs. I'm gonna clean them up and then we'll start replacing. All right, now we're gonna change out these 2 vibration dampeners. 9/16 bolts. So you need a ratchet, impact gun, and a wrench. You need found a long flat bar. Need a screwdriver, which I forgot to bring over. Big screwdriver to push out the bad ones. We need the new ones. And here's what the piece looks like that I just made on the drill press. 1/8 inch thick, 1-inch hole outside, 1 3/4 hole out the outer diameter, which gives it about 1.5 inch size. Sits over the top, and that will stop the plate from eating these up. I've had some of these going for 3 years now and haven't eaten up a set of vibration dampeners yet. So we'll take the wrench. Pull the nut out, pull the bolt out. The same thing for the back one. Pull that bolt out. What happens is, if you don't replace these dampeners, the actual frame rides down, motor frame rides down to the actual stripe, the carriage. This will transfer all this vibration into your striping machine. So as long as these dampeners are intact, you shouldn't get vibration from the driver into your striping machine. Now we're going to try to pick this up a little bit. Big screwdriver. Push out the old one. You see from the old one, see how it's all cut up. What we're going to do is take the new one. Just happen to have some oil laying around here. Just going to put a little bit of oil on it just to make it slide in easier. Better bite on it. Put it in. Just give it a little twist. And the vibration dampener is changed. So we'll do the same thing to the front one. This one's actually even worse. You can see how far it cut down. I can actually almost pull this cap right off. That's supposed to be one piece, one molded piece. That's how bad it got. So we're gonna take something just a little, anything to lube it up a little bit. Raise it back up. Push it in. Do a quick turn. Lower it back down. And that's how you change them. Both go back in. Even if you have to, if only one is bad, it's much easier taking both sides off, both bolts off, so you can lift up the whole plate. It just makes life a lot easier. You have a lot more forgiving when you lift up the whole thing. Quick and easy. Doesn't take a long time, but this way your quality of your line will not get affected by vibration. They bottom out. There's a metal stud inside it, so you can't over tighten them. That's it. Vibration dampeners changed. Those should last probably 2 or 3 years before they actually just start deteriorating. The other two on the other side still look in good shape. What I pay about $10 a piece for these isolators, and sometimes one season before I put the ring on, I went through 3 sets in one season. So it's $120 just in stupid isolation dampeners. Put that ring on there, take the 5 minutes to make the rings. You'll save yourself a couple $100 over the life of the machine. All right, so we'll take the cap off. Get our 15W50, our blue funnel, and we're going to fill it up. We're going to go above the baffle line. So it tells you to go to the baffle line, but not over. But since we have this entire hose to fill up, we're going to go over. This way the hose has some. And then we'll check the level once we run it and cycle it. And then we'll see how she looks. And we're at the baffles. We'll leave it at the top of the baffle for now. That back in, or else it'll squirt out on us as we're running it. tighten your bleed off. We had to roll into the shop, so tighten that so it's not bleeding out. And let's see if she starts. Brake on. Won't start without it. Down low, let it run for a minute. Go forward first. Check the oil level, see if she went down, which hopefully did. Oh yeah. So now we're done with the hydraulic system. So we will be done with that. I don't change the oil filter every year. It's a very closed system. I only change the oil filter on the hydraulic system when I change the oil every year, but when it looks dark and dirty. Once that happens, then I will change the oil filter. But other than that, I've never really had an issue with it. And that's all she wrote. Next thing we're going to do, actually probably will change the vibration sensors, the vibration dampeners next. Let me get set up for that, and I'll bring you right back. All right, we're going to service the carburetor. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove the carburetor, disassemble it. We're going to put in an ultrasonic cleaner, clean it for about 10 minutes, reassemble it. So the first thing to do is turn the gas off, remove the air cleaner, if your air cleaner looks like this, that's one season, throw it away. Move the parts. 10 millimeter socket. 2 nuts on the front. And 1 in the top. 1 bolt in the top. This piece, this black piece, make sure your fuel's off and you're fully choked. This piece comes out. There's a little black hose right here. Most of the time they slip off because usually they're covered in oil. Grab a pair of needle nose. Nudge that hose off. It slides right off. Choke valve comes right off. One thing I learned in the recent time, this will plug your gas line. So what I have to do is, now you have to take the gas line off. So what I do is I use a pair of locking needle nose vice grips. These work pretty good. Keep a little space in the tip so you don't crush the line. Lift up the the clamp. Take this clamp, get this clamp up and off the stem. Hard to do with one hand. Up out of the way. Start removing the hose off the back piece. So we're taking the hose off. Raise the hose up a little bit off the bottom. Put your locking something to stop the gas from coming out. Take your gas off. Remember, whatever's in your gas tank is going to flow right out at you. Take your throttle, your choke lever, stick her in the hole, and it's out of the way. A lot of times you'll have, when you keep your locking pliers on, it's very difficult to get in there and maneuver because you're dealing with this big pair of pliers. You have a seal. Take the seal off. It goes back in with the cutout facing top right. Slide the carburetor out. Gently take off this little tiny spring. Let that release. Then pull out the governor rod. Now the whole carburetor slides right off. While you got it here, the bowl, these two bowls, the filter and the main bowl have gas in them. So before you go anywhere else with it, you gotta pop the drain on this one. Don't drop the bolt in the nasty gas bucket. Shake it out. This is the one that there should be a filter in here which actually filters your gas. Okay. Let's see if I can get you to see what this looks like. I don't know if you can see how red and nasty that fuel is. Don't know why, it's just rusty. Could be from our gas tank. Not from this gas tank, but the one we keep on our trailer. And you can see from the bottom, after dumping all the fuel out, they're red, and it's actually about a 1/16 inch of grime on the bottom. This machine was new last year. I believe this was new last year. So that's after one season we got to look that bad. All right, we're gonna take this over the workbench, take this guy apart. All right, here we go. Taking apart the carburetor. You need a 10mm wrench. Disassemble, take the bowl off the bottom. Make sure you don't lose the washer. Take this one's already loose, so we can take that little guy right out. Take the bowl off. Careful of, I had some bad gas somewhere along the line. Still ran pretty good, but Mr. Gasket has to come out. Gasket goes in the dish. Take the float off. The little rod just slides right out. Put that in the dish. The float we're going to drop in the power washer, in the ultrasonic cleaner. We need to take out this seat, the jet, I believe it's called. 1/4 inch flat screwdriver. Unscrews out. It's coming. A lot of dirt in there, so it's gonna take a little carburetor cleaner to get that bad boy out. There it goes. So now we have the jet, which is not 100% clean, and then the tube that goes inside the carburetor. I forget the name of this tube, but these two parts will be cleaned in the ultrasonic cleaner. Then we have to take out this screw. Sure it's clean. What I usually do is take a black Sharpie, cover one side of the screwdriver. This way I can count how many turns it's in. So start from the top, back it out. It's one turn. So it's 2 turns when it's flush. That we'll need to know when we put it back together. That screw comes out. This little black piece comes out. Then we're going to take apart the fuel system, especially since it was so dirty. 2 little tiny screws. Cover. The spring goes on top of the valve. Valve comes off. They don't really get dirty. And then there's a gasket underneath here. So that comes off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spray it down. Clean the outside with carburetor cleaner real quick. Just get the big gunk off. Then I have a container here that I put all the little tiny pieces in. I won't put the pieces directly to my ultrasonic cleaner. Where's that little vent piece? We'll put that in there. We'll put this in because that's actually, I'm going to spray this down with carb cleaner before we even get in there. So now it's cleaner. Put that in. That's just floating around inside there. And wash this thing off real quick. All right. So let's go over the ultrasonic cleaner. All right, at the ultrasonic cleaner, we got our parts in a container. I just dumped the bucket in there, fill this up, put that right in. Mr. Float sits in there. Put the carburetor, so it's just, I like to keep the fuel side down because I know that needs a lot of work. The only thing I didn't grab from over here was this nasty piece. That has to go in there. So we're going to set this for 480 seconds. Heat's on. Let's see what kind of cleaning it does. This one will probably need 1 or 2 runs through this. So as soon as it's done, I'll bring it back. All right, time to reassemble. Took it out of the parts washer. Got it all nice and clean. Blew it out with the air gun, washed it off. First thing we did was we put the gas filter, the gas shutoff in. We're going to put the valve with the knob sticking straight up. That goes in next. The little spring sits on top of that. The plate goes on next. Line the holes up before you start. Take a little screw. Phillips head really helps being magnetic with these little tiny screws. One screw in there. Line that one up. Next screw. Goes in. Snug, you don't have to over tighten them. It's only aluminum you're screwing into, so you'll strip it out if you go too tight. Valve works nice. We're gonna put this black piece in. It has to do with the air mixture. Line it up. Hopefully this thing goes in nice and easy. It's got to sit perfectly flat on the bottom, or else the screw will not go in. So let's see if the screw goes in. Yep. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring the screw flush with the back side, like we took it out. Right there, it's flush. And we did 2 full turns on the black side of the screwdriver. That's how far out it sticks. There's 1 turn, 2 turns. So that's in, ready to go. Time to put the float in. Drop the float so that sits right in there. Should line up. Take your little rod, put it in the hole. It should go in real easy. They kind of slide around a little bit. And now that's done. Next goes in for your jets. The pipe in, narrow side in first, falls right into place. Then your jet goes in, threads sticking out versus the other side, which is not threaded. That sits in there. Screw that down. Snug, that's it. That's done. So we can put our gasket back on for our float bowl. Make sure everything lines up. Float bowl cover goes back on. Keep your drain parallel with the filter bowl in case you want to drain it while it's on the machine. You don't have to take it off. Snug that one up. I already fished out the drain plug out of the nasty the gasoline container. That's snug. Then we'll put the filter bowl on. Snug. Carburetor's done. No parts left over. It's a good day. So let's go put this one on and get this thing running. Here we are back at the machine. Just reverse our steps. First thing we're going to do is slide it on. We're going to put we're going to put the rods on first. So I'll take the big rod on. Just slides in, drops in. Little tiny spring. You need little needle nose for these. Hooks right into the carburetor. That's done. Next comes the gas line. Pinch it with your needle nose. Ah, look at that. I popped out the big guy. Slide off your choke valve. Put that on your gas line. Before you get too set in here, since I knocked this one off, we got to put that one back in. There it goes. Take our gas clamp, fuel clamp, put that into place. There. Fuel line's back on. The control rods are on. Throttle, the choke valve back on. Fuel's still turned off. Both have to be sticking straight out in order to get the cover on. So we gotta put the seal on. Remember, the cutout goes top right side. I can take it off. That sits in there. That sits in there. The little hose on the back side slides in. It's done. Take our 2 10 millimeter nuts on the carburetor. our one bolt, the only bolt we took off, goes in top. And we'll just tighten those things down real quick. That's it. Back together. We'll open up the fuel. We gotta fill up the cup, the filter cup, and then I'll fill up the bowl. Give that a minute or two while that's filling up. I'll move you around and we'll start it up and see how she sounds. Alright, it's been a minute or two. Turn the switch back on. Parking brake set. Choke is on. Fuel is on. Little throttle. See what happens. Sounds good. Little surging at the high end. That might be because it didn't have an air filter on, so it's getting too much air. It idles beautifully, so I'll call that one a success. So the carburetor is all set, and we'll move on to probably the spark plug next, and then we'll do the vibration dampeners last. All right. Now it's time to change the spark plug. Seems pretty simple. A couple simple steps to do this so you don't get into trouble. First thing to do, blow out all in here of all the debris, paint chips, so when you pull the plug out, they don't fall down into the engine. Once we're clean, pull the spark plug cap. Oh, there's something big in there. There it goes. A 13/16 socket pulls out the NGK spark plugs. Don't use impact guns because once again you're only in aluminum. You'll strip it out and then you'll have to replace the head on the engine. There it goes. Oof. I don't know if you can see it, but that spark plug has seen better days. I believe it's a year-old. A lot of use on this driver. So we're going to replace it with a brand new NGK BP R6ES. The gap we already checked, so we're ready to put this one in. The gap, if you drop the plug, spark plug gap is 37 thousandths, according to the book on this thing. So we'll just thread it in. Should go in real easy. If it's going in hard, you're cross-threading it. Bottom, just tight, snug it up. That's it. Spark plug is done. Check the cap, make sure there's no damage to the spark plug cap. Then plug it in and latch it on. And that's it for the spark plug. After a while, after your tires start wearing down, things start stretching out in your machine, you're going to notice your parking brakes don't work. You fill your tire pressures up, the machine's still rolling on the hill. What you have to do then is take the tires off. Under here, 2 bolts. Take the bolts out and slide it one hole to the front. Don't go directly across from it, go one up or one down depending on where you are. That's a half a spacing on both sides, even, and that's how you tighten up your brakes. When you change your tires, put new tires on, you're gonna have to take the bolts back out and move them back the opposite way so the new tires fit, or else your tires will not fit back on the machine with new tires. As far as the LineDriver tires, I don't use turf tires. I use trailer tires. They're either 2 or 4 ply tires, depending on what is the cheapest I can find. These tires were replaced last year. They have 1 season on them, so we should be able to get most of this season out of them. But the turf tires wear out really fast. It's kind of a squishy ride because you only can put 15 psi of air into them. These are much more rigid. I think it's a better ride. You put about 30-35 pounds of pressure in them, and they hold on to the ground better when you're going through gravel and trying to stop the machine while you're painting. All right, I think we are done. We changed the hydraulic line, replaced the 2 vibration dampeners, changed the oil in the engine, changed/refilled the oil in the hydraulic tank since it all left when we blew the bottom hose. We took apart the carburetor, ultrasonic cleaned it. We changed the spark plugs. The couple of things that we do to these machines that so we have power to the stripe machine. I make these boxes. All of our drivers get this brand new box. This connects up to the battery. It's worked off the switch. All the stripe machines have the same exact cord. Plugs in to the driver, and then the end of it, it has the 12-volt molded plugs. Every machine has it, so every machine can have interchangeable parts. Inside it, we put a 22 amp hour 12-volt battery. I think this one I got off Amazon. It was relatively cheap. It was like 40 bucks. For anybody that adds a battery, in the very back up in here is the battery charging piece. You have to make sure you flip the switch on it. If you look under your driver, you'll see it. There's a little sticker on it that tells you what it does. Then over here, we have flashers on the driver all around, especially the back, since that's the most dangerous spot for us. All of our white lights are on all the stripe machines. This way we don't get any weird shadows, and everything's powered off the LineDriver. Even on the new Line Laser 5s, even though they have a battery built in, everything comes off the LineDriver, because if you drop the battery too low on the Line Laser 5s, your auto guns stop working. The other thing we did was all the riders has a tape measure holder. Holds a 25 or 30 foot Stanley tape measure. That's it. It's gonna get the wheels put back on, and it's time for a bath for this one. Thank you very much for watching.